if you made it not just the cards, but if you made like a cool setup, like a cool table setup and stuff like that, with all the gewgaws and all the extra bells and whistles, I would absolutely put that on Kickstarter. Yeah, I'd get that
instantly.
Awesome.
But we're not here to talk about Inscription.
We are not.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to PixelLit. My name is Kevin. Alongside with me, as always, is Phil.
Hello.
And today we are starting a brand new series, BioShock Rapture. There it is.
With my Costco receipt coupon.
I have the same copy right there.
Hell yeah.
It's
you
beautiful.
Own a physical copy of the book, Kevin.
I bought a physical copy. You are rubbing off on me.
Ah, crazy. Let's just not tell our wives. That's wild. Yeah, you are a.
I'm normally a digital copy guy, but
you're
you know
a PDF
what?
guy.
I looked at the book and I was like, you know what? This is a nice looking book.
It's just a nice fat paperback. How do you not go for that?
And I didn't want to get the mass market. I wanted this version of the paperback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice. It's nice. It's a nice book. It's also a pretty good book, which is a breath of fresh air.
I mean,
ooh.
I don't want to, talk too unkindly about previous books, but I was starting to wonder if we were
if it was ever going to happen again.
When we started this out, it's like you think about. We were just thrilled to run into mediocre things when we did, and then things you start reading good stuff. Like the Halo book was so good, and there's some really quality stuff out there. The Far Cry Absolution, and then every time you get into something that's bad. Yeah. Or just like what you expect when you think of a video game novelization, right. You start going, okay. Now we're back in the real world. The honeymoon period's over.
Yeah, the honeymoon period's over. We're back in the trash lands.
But BioShock Rapture,
Rapture is so far pretty good. And today we're going to be covering part one of 3. It's divided up into 3 parts. So
one of those parts has
to be much longer because
longer.
This is a shorter book than Dead Space was.
Yes.
This is coming in around 400 pages.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like the second part is
the beefiest part.
Beefiest part. We got, it's like the first part is about 100 pages. Second part seems to be 200. At least in my mass market paperback version of it.
Yeah.
And then there is, about another 125 pages for the third part. So second part is a real beast.
Yeah, that's the bugbear that we'll deal with as we come up to it. But
absolutely,
the book starts with a prologue, and in that prologue, we meet the great man.
The great man, Andrew Ryan, the union buster and libertarian extraordinaire.
Yeah, he is. He makes union busting seem so, wholesome and good, doesn't he?
He does. I think that was the idea back then because, like you were trying to fight off communism. So union busting was the wholesome, all-American apple pie and basketball kind of a thing to do.
As he said, union busting makes him feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. And this is actually, right off the bat, this is a very interesting book to me because we've talked about covering books that the game was based on.
Sure.
As opposed to the opposite, which is what we mostly do now.
Yeah.
And this is the first book I think we're ever going to run into probably where it's a book based on a game that was kind of based on a book.
Yeah.
And you immediately right off the bat get all that Ayn Rand goodness.
Yeah, it's like, because we're never going to read Atlas Shrugged on
I already read it. I don't.
You already read it, and I
had a. Here's the thing. I'm gonna just top load this and let you guys know right now. I had a brief stint as an objectivist. Ayn Rand reading, libertarian, white, just that guy. I had a brief stint as one of those guys, and a woman was involved. It's how it tends to work.
Yeah.
And I read both The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. So I'm going to be.
That's like 4,000 pages of pure unadulterated garbage.
It just not just garbage, evil garbage.
Yeah, evil. It's evil stuff. It's not good stuff.
It's real bad. It's badly written, and it's bad for the soul. Probably bad for your teeth. So slowly unraveling this thing is going to be good therapy. I think I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree. So the opening of the prologue is a conversation between the chief, Ryan's chief of security, Sullivan, good Irish name,
mm-hmm.
and who is read with an Irish accent, I believe, on the audiobook as I was listening to it.
There are a lot of I had to stop, and I have to do it in bits and pieces now, because the dialects that this author in the audiobook version that he juggles. Oh boy,
it's a lot. It's a lot. And I fall back on my just don't try.
Yeah.
It doesn't add anything for me personally. It doesn't add anything.
No.
Just read in your voice.
No,
I know that's how they're directed, because I know that they are hired based on their abilities to do different dialects.
Sure.
I think I've seen a few job postings for book voiceovers, but yeah, it's just don't do it. Directors, voiceover directors out there, stop. Please stop.
It's not helping anything. It really isn't.
No.
So they're having a conversation, and it's basically your introductory, like a lot of talk of fear of the bomb. This is World War II.
Yeah, it's the very end of World War II.
Yeah.
The Hiroshima and Nagasaki have just been bombed. They literally just happened earlier.
And this is clearly a very big deal for Andrew Ryan.
It's his inciting incident. It's the thing that gives him the idea to start this whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. It is essentially for him his inciting incident. And they have a lot of that. They have a lot of libertarian talk. A lot of the standard is not a man.
Yeah. Does a man
not deserve the sweat off his own brow?
Yeah, yeah.
And one day, everyone will learn that age is just a number and a social construct. And, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah. The libertarians jump from no taxation to age of consent pretty quickly,
and very merrily, by the way. Makes one a little nervous.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so they're having this discussion, and we get a little flashback.
Yeah,
into Andrew Ryan,
1918 Russia.
Yeah, Andrei Ryanovsky, which Ryanovsky had better be. I didn't look it up.
I didn't look it up either.
Better be a real Russian name, because otherwise, that's like up there like pizza pasta as far as shitty, stereotypical quasi continental names.
Pizza pasta, Piston Honda,
right? His name was Andrew Ryan, so he's Andrew Ryanovsky. Okay. All right.
For those too young to remember, pizza pasta was the Italian stereotype that you fought in the arcade version of Punch-Out.
He was too fucked up for the NES version. And the other one was that in the arcade version you fought what was his name? Vodka
Drinkinsky, which they changed to Soda Popinski for the NES version.
Yeah. And someone pointed out on Twitter once, they were like, people are always talking about how being politically correct ruins jokes. Fuck you. Soda Popinski is way funnier than Vodka Drunkinsky. And I was like, Actually, it kind of is.
It makes more sense. Soda Popinski,
Yeah.
like it flows better than Vodka Drinkinski.
It feels better. It's just a better, it's a better name. It's funnier. I agree with that. So
yeah,
we get a glimpse into his life back in those days.
Yeah, it he got separated from his family, and he developed a long-standing phobia of leftist politics.
Yeah.
All based on the workers' militia, which, did a lot of bad things to him personally. But so he's carried that baggage with him his entire life, and is going to hoist that baggage onto some boats and take it out to the middle of the North Atlantic.
Where it belongs.
Where it belongs. and then we get into part one.
And we're introduced to Bill McDonough.
I love that part one starts with an Andrew Ryan quote, though.
Right.
The parasite hates three things: free markets, free will, and free men. The parasite is the BioShockian term that Andrew Ryan uses and is used all over BioShock. It's basically just like poor people. Or any marginalized person who is having a little bit of trouble gets thrown into this category of the parasite.
Anyone who accepts any level of social assistance and that kind of, they see them as moochers.
Yeah.
As that hangers on. Those people who can't hack it out on their own. Which is a theme you see constantly throughout the Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. It gets to a point with some of these quotes that I'm kind of amazed that I know these aren't direct quotes from Ayn Rand.
But they're
kind of
it feels
I'm amazed
like
they get away with it sometimes.
It's a Randian vibe.
Very, very much so. So
we are introduced to Bill McDonough.
Yes. Englishman.
He's a toilet repairman / engineer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, that's
one of those.
He's from merry old England.
Yep.
He even though he's an engineer, he didn't go to a fancy place like NYU, and he kind of carries a chip on his shoulder because he understands all that stuff that the fancy pants schooling people did, but he went to a vocational school. Right. So he doesn't really get the respect that he believes he necessarily deserves, which it kind of ties together all of the Andrew Ryan protagonist group. The Andrew Ryan advisors all have that distinction of they have a drive, and something about society is keeping them from just taking, what they want.
Right. You run into that a lot in Ayn Rand's work. The people who agree with them, especially the poor, when you're talking about poor objectivists, they don't call them objectivists in the books, but people who agree with the overall philosophy who are also poor are either, like you said, just being held back by socialism, probably,
right?
To be able to take what is theirs and let their genius shine through, because it's all about genius, being a great man with a capital G. That's what it's all about, letting the great men be great. So the poor people who are poor are either great men who are being held back, or they're people who just aren't bound for great things, but boy howdy are they happy to be where they are, and they just love
seeing the great men do great things.
Oh man, they love licking the boots.
They love the boot tastes great.
Oh, that is what they are there for. And I would call it the most unrealistic portrayal of poor people I've ever seen, if it weren't for the fact that I've seen it so goddamn many times.
It happens way too often to you can see it on Twitter when you have there's that meme of a bunch of nerds jumping in to defend Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Every time Elon Musk does something, questionable, which is a lot. You have a lot of people just jumping in to defend him, even though they have no reason to.
No.
Because he runs a company.
Right. Well, and deep down inside, I think there's this level with these guys of like hoping that they, if I were super rich, I would want to be left the fuck alone.
Right.
And therefore, that it's there's a fantasy there.
Yeah. They're just not millionaires yet.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Who is it that said that? America has no poor. It's just a nation of momentarily embarrassed millionaires.
Exactly.
And
I can't remember who said it, but I know that quote.
Yeah, and it's but throughout this chapter we get a lot of that. We interestingly enough, it makes me think of a saying a buddy of mine who was a dear friend, who is still a dear friend, and he remained my friend even through my objectivist phase, despite the fact that he is one sneeze shy of a full-blown red commie. And the phrase from Atlas Shrugged is, "Who is John Galt?"
Yeah.
John Galt is meant to be this great man with a capital G and a capital M.
Sure.
And he used to invert it and say, "Who fixes Galt's John?" And his point was that, it's like someone's got to scrub the toilets in this great
in
place,
this great society of all of where great men can be great. Who's fixing the toilet?
Exactly. And so we've got Bill McDonough here.
Bill McDonough is fixing the toilet. He's arriving at the Andrew Ryan Arms apartments. He is going specifically to Andrew Ryan's penthouse.
Yep.
To repair his toilet. And basically his company, from what I understand, it seemed like his company was doing some work generally in the building, in repairing plumbing and things like that. And
he's new, I believe.
Yeah.
This is definitely his first time being called up.
Right.
He's really surprised when he finds that Andrew Ryan is up there,
on the phone, making deals like great men do.
Just hitting so. Anytime we see this man, he just hits so many libertarian sound bites and the hyperbole of the rich. Like we get a taxes are theft,
right?
Which might as well have been spelled with all capital letters #Gamergate after it. Like it was just. And so he's just
a wink and a nod to what was it? GameStop writer Colin Moriarty, whose handle is no taxation.
Right. That's what it is. And it just, so we get one of those. Just in case you forgot who he is. And so McDonough goes and he fixes the toilet. And Ryan kind of watches him, and they start talking shop. Like, apparently everyone's been using tin bolts, and he points out to him. He goes, "Those are fall apart real fast. That's the cheap way. This way, I think it's brass or something."
Yeah, it's brass, and McDonough's
it's more expensive, but it'll work.
And McDonough's like, "Well, I'll pay for it myself out of my own pay to make sure the job is done right." And that is great man talk.
He loves it.
He loves it. Oh, Ryan eats that shit right up.
Yeah. And he just like, he immediately wants to talk philosophy with this guy. He's super impressed with his work ethic, and he just starts asking him questions like, "So what do you think? Where do a man's rights end?" And it's like, and you immediately think of that like Twitter gif of like the guy whispering into the girl's ear, and she's just going, "Mm-hmm."
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're like me and you thought that, you'd be wrong, because Bill McDonough is super into it.
He is 100% into it.
Oh, he fucking loves it. They get into it. They get into the whole conversation. The kind of just, here's a quote from it. He says, "A man must make of his life a ladder that he never ceases to climb. If you're not rising, you are slipping down the rungs, my friend." Just that, like, work hard, work until you are quite literally dead and in the ground, kind of thing.
One classes oneself.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Oh, we've got some just awe-inspiring sound bites.
Oh, it is. It is like the text feels like it's written in Art Deco.
Yeah. Everything is Art Deco here. But so Ryan, and so he does the thing. Ryan's really impressed. The guy goes home. McDonough goes home. The next morning, it implies that he's hungover, which I thought was funny as fuck.
Sure.
Not the kind of thing that a great man would do, I don't think.
No.
But he wakes up, he gets a phone call from his boss, who basically tells him that Ryan wants to see him again. And Ryan hires him as his new building engineer, which is stupid. Let's just say that. That's it. What the fuck? All he knows about this guy is that he turns a mean pipe.
He turns it. Yeah. He said he's objectivist friendly.
Yeah.
Right. And he uses brass fittings instead of tin on toilets. Those are the true facts.
Yeah.
That Ryan knows about this guy.
Yeah. And we're not, and this isn't the end of this, but like, we're going to see Ryan making these kind of moves more as the book goes, where you're just like, why is he doing that? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But we got Bill McDonough in here, and we're going to see a lot of Bill.
We're going to see a lot of Bill as the book goes along. But chapter 2, we're back with Sullivan and another one of the guys that is sort of responsible for this whole thing is Reuben Greavy, who works for the Wales brothers, who are, as we'll find out, they have a lot to do with the stuff that Ryan is involving himself in.
Yes. We get them. They're off. They're seeing off a ship full of supplies, heading off to some mysterious vista. And they're talking about McDonough, and they actually kind of address what we talked about.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just like great, and sometimes it feels like they're regular or something like that.
They're just like, sometimes it feels like he brought in somebody who's like,
because Greavy's a learned professor, right? And he's one of the guys, and then Sullivan is just a former cop.
And he was down on his luck.
Down on his luck cop,
Yeah, and they use a phrase that I'd never heard before, and I really like this. They said they ask if McDonough is an apple picked from an orange tree, which I'd never heard that phrase before. I really like that. Just kind of a rando pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like they seem to have the same misgivings that you, me, or anyone who is halfway sane, I think, would have.
Right.
About hiring a plumber to be your building engineer.
It's not like a diamond in the rough. It's like an apple picked from an orange tree is like he's being picked based on the fact that he's just different.
Weird,
Rather than the same, like it's not a mark of quality, it's just a mark of difference.
Right. Yeah, a mark of something unusual.
Yeah.
And that's not usually good enough, especially when we're talking about the kind of project
it's definitely not good enough for what's his name, the professor. It's kind of Greavy kind of is like
no, yeah, he's not particularly impressed by any of this shit.
No, he's not.
So we get to Ryan again. Well, they talk about Ryan. This was another thing. They're talking about Andrew Ryan, and they say that he didn't side with anyone during World War II. That he didn't like Hitler and the Nazis, but he really had real problems with the way that the Allies did things too. And it's just the ultimate both sides are bad kind of. Which to me doesn't. Here's the thing. Absolutely, there were issues with the Allies over there.
Sure.
There were serious issues with the Allies. So, if you do any level of digging into America's history and you see how it influenced Nazi Germany, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, but at the same time, if you're actually pound for pound looking at the Allies and the Axis, and you decide that you're not going to make a decision at all, I call opportunism.
Right.
I don't think your morals are really all that good. I think you're waiting to see which one of these giants comes out on top.
Yeah, Ryan is just a billionaire trying to hedge his bets.
Yeah.
He's not making a real moral stand here.
No, he's not. And they don't. And John Shirley, our author, who, by the way, we didn't get into it, but John Shirley has quite a pedigree as well. We talk about him versus Evanson, who wrote our last book. Bram Stoker Award winner, really, really cool guy. I need to check out more of his work. Yeah, but he makes it clear that it's not, he really sends up.
Yeah. Ryan is somebody who is Ryan is definitely portrayed as the dumb man's idea of a smart man.
Pretty much, yes. Pretty much. It's the kind of thing, and it's the thing. When I was 24, 25, and stupid, these kind of quick, quippy, clever quotes really worked on me. They made me feel special, made me feel smarter than other people, and that kind of thing. And it's one of those things that it doesn't take much to unravel.
No, it doesn't take much to unravel at all.
But people don't want it to be unraveled, and so that's how you get Rapture.
We get a scene change now.
Yes. We got a new character. Frank
Gorland.
Yeah.
Who has just taken over a bar based on the default of a loan.
Yeah.
And Gorland is a tricky dude.
Yeah. He is Gorland is running the Thieves Guild, baby. Gorland is he is level 20 rogue all the way.
He is maxed out on persuasion.
Absolutely. I like Gorland. He is insufferable and kind of a nasty character, but damn is he good at what he does. And so he's basically setting up he's taken over this bar.
Yeah.
And
which is by the docks.
Right. And that's important.
Yeah.
And the FBI shows up, presumably to interrogate him. But mostly they just want to make a deal. And that deal is, they have been hearing shit about Andrew Ryan.
What's Andrew Ryan doing? They're like, hey, Gorland, we know, we could arrest you on any number of things.
Right.
But we probably wouldn't be able to get them to stick. So you're better as as somebody who can give us information.
Yeah, as being useful to us. Do something. And so Gorland says, yeah, sure, of course, naturally he goes with it. But all that's really happened is they've given him an idea for his next scam.
Yeah, he is the music man. He
knows for a fact. He's like, oh, I had no idea something was going down. Thanks, FBI, Daddy.
Thanks, FBI.
I'm gonna go down there and figure it out myself and not tell you shit. I'm cutting out the middleman. And it doesn't take long for him to get a tip. Some poor drunk girl comes in.
Yep.
And her boyfriend was a diver.
Her boyfriend who disappeared.
Who disappeared.
Yep.
And she thinks that it has something to do with Andrew Ryan, who he was working for. And she thinks that he maybe knew too much.
Yep.
She seems to think he was rubbed
He's doing something. It was in the North Atlantic.
Yeah.
And that's it's tight storytelling with the amount of stuff that happens in the course, and it's such a breath of fresh air. And we were talking about this before we got started. This is super tight storytelling because we're 50 pages in, just about. And we know the following. Andrew Ryan wants to do something big in response to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 1 year later, he is already well underway. And then the government is aware that he's doing something. And this character, Frank Gorland, is now aware and has already procured important information about it.
Yeah.
And that's in 50 pages. And it feels like it took forever to get there in our previous book.
Yeah.
And this is just good pacing.
we get quick little moments, these beats that don't pad themselves, that don't waste any time. And it feels like two things, and both of which are perfect for this kind of book and the subject matter. First off, it feels like pretty decent noir.
Right.
It's got the mystery element. He's, the reverse Gumshoe, but, still the same idea.
Sure.
And he goes and interrogates this person, talks to that person, pretends to be a guy to talk to this person. Just little moments that are giving him bit by bit of information. Yeah. And and based on that, it also feels like an adventure game.
Yeah, totally.
It feels like a good point and click.
Things are happening in each scene.
Absolutely. Every scene is important. There is a detail that is coming about from it. And it's just good writing. It's just really tight. It's really, really tight.
And we also find out at some point that Gorland is not his real name.
No.
He has gone under a dozen other aliases at least.
Yeah, Gorland is just the latest name.
The latest name. So yeah, he continues and he gets basically at this point he goes to the dock and starts investigating. Like he talks to a drunk dock worker.
Yeah, he pretends to be a cop at one point.
Yeah, he pretends to be a cop. It's amazing, all the little details and stuff. He finds out that there's tunnels under the sea, that it's in the North Atlantic.
That certain workers are dying.
He starts finding out information about who's involved, Greavy and all that stuff. The bathyspheres, another book with bathyspheres.
Yeah, we've gone from one bathysphere to another. But yeah, he's finding. Yeah, he overhears workers talking about people down there are dying. In the process, they're not happy about it. So he's filling up his.
He's filling in the gaps, and the chapter ends with Gorland making the realization Ryan is building a city under the sea. And that is the first time it is explicitly stated in the book. Now, coming into the book, if you obviously played BioShock and the title is BioShock Rapture, it's no surprise, but the way we get it is through a character who just pieces things together, and it gives you good character moments. And it gives you nice little bit, like, because you could have easily Ryan could have just said it in the first scene.
Oh yeah, and anybody who's reading this book has probably played the game, most likely, and so it's no surprise. That's not a surprise to them, but it's not boring to watch this guy piece it all together. It's quite the opposite. It's very exciting. It's like something he doesn't, and so the whole time you're like, oh, is he gonna figure it out? Oh, is he gonna fuck up? Is he only gonna get half the information?
Right.
It's exciting. It's done well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. It's so interesting.
Yeah. We moved to chapter 3 and we're back with Bill McDonough.
It opens with her comparing a woman to his mother and then promptly oogling her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felt good about that one. He really does fit in with this crowd, doesn't he?
That's a choice. Elaine.
Elaine.
And because Bill McDonough has a girlfriend that he mentions in the first chapter, I believe.
Yeah.
But I believe he's...
I don't think she's ever mentioned again.
No, I think he's moved on from her. But yeah, Bill is working in his office as the building engineer. And then he gets picked up by Andrew in a limousine to take a ride down to the docks. Yeah.
They go off out there, and Ryan starts asking him about the war, his time in the war, his experience in the war, and where his loyalties lie. And that's where he kind of openly admits to what we were talking about before. His loyalty is not to the government, but to himself. And the government, it's said with like contempt. The word is... like the word is packed in oil with sardines. The government. It's really weird, and so he starts basically telling them that he starts hinting like, we're gonna go away. We're gonna get away. These people, these nuclear warheads and all that shit. We're getting away from all of that, and he says that we're gonna leave. He says, just for a time, just for a century or two, until the fools have destroyed themselves with the Hiroshima bombs. Bill was flummoxed. Leave it, sir? Ryan chuckled. Don't look so astonished. I don't mean we're going to the moon. We're not going up. We're going down. And I don't know what it was about that. It sounded like he was like, you fucking moron. We're not going to the moon.
Of course not.
20,000 leagues under the sea, you stupid ass.
You son of a bitch.
Like, it's just like, you fucking stupid. Slap, slap.
Yeah.
It's so mean. And he tells him, I'm gonna take you to Iceland. I'm gonna show you this.
We're gonna do it.
Promises that he'll be enraptured.
Enraptured. And we get a scene change back to Gorland, who is doing more spy work, basically.
That's right. Yeah. He's delivering canned food.
He's delivering canned food in disguise.
This is actually a really funny scene.
Yeah. Because the guy, the dude calls him out on it so fast. He's like, this is not like, because like Gorland is like, well, I need Andrew Ryan to sign for this. And the guy's like, Andrew Ryan doesn't sign for shit. Like,
right. It's basically if you were a delivery guy and you took it to Trump Towers and the guy
Donald Trump signed for it.
Right. And the manager came out and you're like, no, I'm sorry. It's supposed to go to Donald Trump. Like, I can't. Maybe Donald Trump Jr. if he's here, but otherwise he's not just playing dumb, he's playing stupid.
I'm just getting paid to, but and it says right here, Andrew Ryan. So
yeah. And so he finds out that a guy named Rizzo is the dude who actually runs the day to day. And he basically, that section ends with him kind of figuring out how big of a scam this is going to be. Like,
right.
This isn't, he realized this is not small potatoes. This is
big.
Huge.
This is big. Yeah. And we get another scene change back to where they were going in the limousine, which is to see everybody's favorite dandy, Sander Cohen.
They're going to a musical.
They're going to a musical because Andrew Ryan loves musicals.
He loves musicals. The whole thing opens with him talking about, I do find it funny that I support these musicals. It's kind of hilarious. It's a little too...
he does say, I don't care for this jitterbug nonsense.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a scene where they're up there dancing and they're doing like, a really, one of the stupid little, jitterbug kind of dance. Yeah. And he's real quick to go, I don't care for it's like your friend who really, really likes Britney Spears.
Yeah.
And Lucky comes on and he goes real quick, goes real hard. Like, look, that's a garbage song. Everyone hates Lucky. But listen, seriously, Baby One More Time is a bop. Like, that's just all there's to it. Like, it's a little, he doth protest too much, Yeah. It's kind of like, I've known guys who were kind of shy about liking musicals or theater or something like that because they're like, I'm not gay. Like,
yeah,
it's really cool. The way the ballet guys stand on their toes is super manually. It's butch.
It's super, super cool.
Super cool. And he says, only the great understand the great.
Yeah.
It's just and that to me says so much about this mindset. It's like, it's not enough that, because he's responding to a few drunks, he claims. They don't seem drunk. They just seem like they didn't like the show.
Sure.
And he just goes, they're morons. Like, this guy's great. Only great understands the great. This is where you get the people who think that there should be objectivity in movie and
movies and
reviews.
Art and generally.
This is an objectivist thing. Like, that's why Art Deco is so associated with it, because it's very strong. When it shows human figures, it shows them at their peak, muscular. Yep. It's all about beauty. It's meant to evoke nothing but physical beauty, which is about as far as it can go for a lot of them. Like, there's not a lot of room for reading between the lines. And so this attitude says so much about.
And Sander Cohen is like this. He is, the way the book is written to kind of illustrate that Sander Cohen is way past his prime in terms of as an entertainer and an artist.
Yeah, we get two artists that we run into two artists. The first one is Jasmine, who is a dancer,
right?
And clearly she's basically Ryan's favorite stripper.
Yep,
let's face facts.
Yes,
like he goes into the strip club and he asks, is Jasmine dancing tonight?
Sure.
Like, that's fine, by the way.
That's what, yeah.
That's what strippers are for.
And they're having just replayed BioShock. That is a reference to Jasmine, who is the strip club in BioShock is Jasmine's.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I love that. I started replaying it. I don't know what it is about the remaster. It is having serious trouble with my computer. It keeps shutting itself off.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun replaying it, but I haven't gotten that far.
Sure.
But yeah, and he basically invites her to his underwater. He says, I've got this thing that's happening. He says, you're going to come along. And that says everything. It shows you how full of shit this guy is. It's like, and he does it again with Sander. He does that with him too, where he's like, I've got a place for us geniuses. And it's like, you're not actually after great people and geniuses. You just want to protect who you like.
Yeah. You are picking out the people you specifically like. Right. And because you view yourself as a great man, obviously these must be the greatest people. These are the best of the best, because your taste is your taste is objectivist, so it must be perfect.
Exactly. And that's it. It's not enough that it's okay if I were building, a castle in the clouds. Sure. I would, and people accuse me, like, you're just inviting your friends to come along. I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, of course I am. And they're like, well, you're not including great people. And I'm like, well, they're great to me. They're my friends. Like
they're great people.
They're great people. You haven't gotten drunk and sung karaoke with them. They're great. It's like, it's that's all it is. That's the difference. That's the real difference. He's not, it's so clear here that John Shirley is just trolling Ayn Rand so bad. Like he's just going, it's proof there that this whole great man shtick it's horseshit. It's horseshit.
The chapter ends with Bill McDonough saying that he is in A to Z. He's diving in at the deep end. He has drank the Kool-Aid. He is 100% in on this particular venture. Yeah. He has been dazzled by the great man.
Big time. It's like you just want to go, no, Bill, no.
Bill, no.
He just and his accent's getting worse, by the way. That's the one thing I will criticize John Shirley for. He sounds like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Is it John Shirley doing the reading?
Oh, is he? I have no idea. I'm just talking about just how he writes it.
Oh, how he writes him is
like on page 64. Core, he burst out. Me ma took a liking to Sander Cohen a few years back. Fair wore out as kissing the tulip on her old Victrola. And it just, I'm sure that people did talk that way.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Just but the voice of the character on paper is inconsistent a little bit.
It feels weird, man. It feels weird. That's the one thing I will say that I'm just like, I don't know about this. So, and that brings us to chapter 4 and Gorland.
Our friend, Frank Gorland.
Our friend Gorland, who is doing more digging. What a surprise.
He's digging stuff up.
And basically he discovers that, the best way for him to get close to Ryan's project, essentially, is just to supply them with goods. Yeah. Like they are in constant need of supplies. He doesn't have to, it's so funny. He doesn't have to be all that sneaky about it. And if anything, being more legit will get him closer to this guy.
Or quote unquote legit.
Quote unquote legit. Well, as legit as a guy like Gorland is capable of being.
Because now his idea is to basically he targets somebody in this discussion named Frank Fontaine. Does that name sound familiar to you?
A little familiar.
If you played BioShock. He targets a guy named Frank Fontaine.
I actually knew a guy in college named Frank Fontaine.
Interesting.
That. Yeah. Couldn't have been any less like this dude.
Any less like Frank Fontaine. So Gorland basically targets Frank Fontaine because Frank Fontaine is a former smuggler who is now running a fishery. And Gorland's like, well, if I could get Fontaine probably could get me some information.
Yeah. Han Solo is going to help me out here.
Han Solo is going to help me out here.
Yeah.
So, and it's a really brief scene. You get a little bit more about how Frank Gorland is not his real name before we cut back over to Andrew Ryan and Bill McDonough are in an airship.
Yeah.
They're in an airship and they're on their way
Atlantic.
to, where is it? Greenland or Iceland?
Iceland. Yeah.
Iceland. Yeah.
And so he basically he's talking more pseudo intellectual philosophy talk, and then finally
he shows
Ryan
him the model of Rapture.
Yeah. What he's working on.
And McDonough compares it in his head to Oz, the Emerald City of Oz.
Yeah.
Which
it's not a bad comparison.
Not a bad comparison at all. It's real. It has this real mythical structure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, he talks about how there's the most open space, and they kind of do in this scene a little bit of the hand waviness with the science behind it. Sure. Where Ryan's like, oh yeah, I have scientists who figured out the air pressure stuff. Like it's like and moving on. Yeah.
which you know what it's kind of fine for a couple of reasons. First off, it's like, yeah, it's on one hand, do we really want to read all the details and the schematics? Probably not. On the other hand, this kind of dude, I don't know if this dude would bother getting to know that shit anyhow.
Right.
And we're about to see a moment where
there is a moment where that kind of does come back to bite them.
Yeah, where he's just like, he has, because no matter how much of a great one man you are, you do not exist alone. You have to rely on other people.
You do have to rely on others. Yeah.
Yeah. But if he talks too much, if he talks up the science of it too much, you might get the impression that its development didn't really have all that much to do with him.
Sure.
And we cannot have that.
We can't have that. No.
That is the truth.
So we have another scene change, and Gorland is meeting with Fontaine.
Yes. It's pretty great.
This is great.
This is a great scene.
Basically, Gorland is trying to pump Fontaine for information. And the conversation goes south.
Big time.
Yeah,
he implies that the FBI is after
after Fontaine for the smuggling and all that stuff. Ultimately, what ends up happening though is is it in this scene? No. It hasn't happened yet. But Fontaine is buying what Gorland is selling. He's like, Fontaine's like, all right, I'll help you out. You guys got me. All right.
Yeah.
I'll help you out.
The gist of it is like, look, listen, these people you need to get away for a little while. You need to go and disappear. I'll take over your operation for a little while.
Sure.
Because, it'll help me because I'm doing some supply running, stuff like that. He feeds him a line a mile long about, you just need to disappear and I'll take over for a minute.
Right. And then so he's on the ship. He is now captaining the ship. Right. Frank Gorland is captaining the ship, and Fontaine shows up for the payoff money to basically disappear.
Right, yeah, because he wasn't going to do it for free. He was going to help him out. He's like, here, I'm going to help you out. We've worked together. I like you. Here, I'll pay you off for the whole situation.
And Gorland just murders the shit out of him.
Murders him. He shouts something about inventing identity theft.
Yeah.
How funny it is that they both have the first name, so this is going to be an easy transition.
Right.
And knocks him out with a blackjack and throws him ass fucking over tea kettle into the water, where he does not come back up. And it ends with what was it? Frank Fontaine was dead. Long live Frank Fontaine.
Pretty much. Captain Fontaine was dead. Long live Captain Frank Fontaine.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlethems, kings, queens, and emperors, Frank Fontaine, the antagonist. of BioShock has arrived.
There he is. He has arrived. And what an introduction, by the way. Oh, fuck, it's good. It's so good. He's such a nasty character.
He is such a nasty character. And you could see it kind of coming if you read between the lines of like what his some of the names that he references that he had, because he said there was a Chinese last name in there. And in the game itself, he says like he one time pretended that he was Chinese in order to pull a con. So and you know it all connects together.
It's great. It's it's not just good writing in and of itself, just by itself. It is terrific adaptation of a character, the existing property.
Yeah.
John Shirley played through this game a couple of times, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah.
And really got to know it and went, oh, I'm going to have fun with this.
Yes.
Because he's having fun. He's having fun, and it shows. It's good writing. So, and that brings us to chapter 5.
Chapter 5 with the Andrew Ryan. Now, this is not the man Andrew Ryan. This is the ship Andrew Ryan.
Yes, the Andrew Ryan. He has not demanded that you all speak to him in third person like Kanye West or something. It's the Andrew Ryan is the ship. Yes.
They're basically the ship is going out to the lighthouse in order to get down into Rapture.
Yes.
And you know, McDonough is not having a good time because he's getting a little seasick.
He's getting sick. He did briefly have in the section before, we got a brief moment of PTSD from him. He got a flashback of to the war.
Right, when the plane started to list a little bit. He was not having a good time.
Yeah, and he flashes back to some horrible things that happened to him in the war.
Right.
So he's already kind of uneasy at this point.
Exactly.
And they end up riding a bathysphere down towards
Rapture. Yeah, and they talk about, you know, it's geothermal, which comes up in the game. There's no coal needed, no oil. You know, the energy flow goes on as long as the Earth retains its heat, which is, you know, that's, hey.
If the Earth runs out of heat, then we're fucked either way.
We're fucked either way. So, you know, but what's really neat is like, I look at I think Rapture as a concept is really freaking cool.
Yeah.
You know, the how it's born is terrible, but
sure. Yeah.
The concept of this, like a city running on endless power under the sea, because that is where you'll find me, underneath the sea lab, underneath the water.
Yeah.
You can call me Cap.
Shut the fuck up and get on with it.
You can call me Captain Murphy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You need to watch some Adult Swim.
Too much Adult Swim.
I know.
Too much Adult Swim in college. So basically, they continue on. They get down there. They meet with some of the other like engineering types or what have you.
Roland Wallace.
And you know, there's an issue. There's suddenly like a little whoopsie that pops up.
Yeah. Well, real quick before that, because I think this is an interesting thing that leads into it, is they talk about someone mentions that 3 men died setting up the geothermal system, and Bill is kind of shocked by that, and Ryan says, "Hey, how many people died building the Panama Canal?" Which by the way is an extraordinary number of people died. French and American died making the Panama Canal, but Bill rattles off the numbers kind of fast. It's something like 20,000 people died.
Right.
And he says, so anyone's going to die in these kind of big projects.
Yeah.
So he is clearly very happy, or willing rather, to allow people to sacrifice their lives for building this dream project of his. And I think that's just kind of important to bring up before we get further on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and they talk a little bit about movies, how there's going to be a movie theater and all, you know, all that nice stuff. But what what happens is Bill notices that there's some water trickling down some of the glass, and like there shouldn't be any. It should be zero.
No. There should be. You're underwater unless you're in the shower. There should be no extra water.
There should be no extra water if you're trying to maintain your air pressure. And there's water. There's water on the floor. And basically, it's like, oh, there's a little bit of a leak. It turns into suddenly a larger leak very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. Everyone. It's basically, since it's sloppy building.
Yep.
There's a pressure issue that clearly happened. It's sloppily built, and just as he's like, just in time for it to be vaguely poetic, cracks start appearing in the glass, and basically everything goes to fucking hell.
Yep.
Bill sends him away. He said he's gonna run it. He's gonna try and fix the issue.
Yep.
For all intents and purposes, he's kind of, you'd assume, sacrificing himself
just to get Ryan out of there.
Yeah, so, Roland Wallace gets him out of there.
Wallace and Ryan get out of there.
Yeah.
And then he makes his, he basically tells them to seal him in.
Right.
Close the hatch, and they don't listen to him, and they're able to pull him out and then close the hatch just in time for the entire thing that entire bulkhead to implode, basically.
Yeah. He says, "Thank God." Andrew Ryan says,
"Thank a man."
Thank a man.
Thank
gives
Bill
him the
McDonough.
Hollywood handshake.
Paul Hollywood
that's
comes
immediately
in.
what I thought of. He was like offering him a hand, like he's just, this is meant to be a great honor for you, son. Just fuck yourself. What a condescending action.
God.
And then we get a change in time. About a year goes by.
Yep.
It's now 1947, and Wales, who we've talked about before,
the Wales brothers.
The Wales brother is leading them to the Rapture entryway in the lighthouse, which leads us to the first thing most anyone reads in this game: no gods or kings, only man. Only man. Which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. I'm sure plenty of other people have pointed this out, but that's such a, I mean, it's definitely an objectivist kind of thing to say, but
Sure.
It's also really close to an old anarchist slogan.
Yeah.
No gods, no masters.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like there is nothing. He is kind of anarchist in terms of his mindset on things. He is very ANCAP, anarchist capitalist.
Right. There is a weird overlap that you see sometimes of anarchists and the libertarian crowd.
Sure.
It really makes very little sense in practice. But these two things are far more closely linked than a lot of people would assume.
Yeah.
I've always found that. I only bring that up because it's such an interest. I've always found that to be a fascinating comparison. It's such a different takeaway. Whereas anarchy is like very much no leaders, no great men.
Yeah.
Just people.
Just people.
And objectivism is the worship of great men. You kill God and you put great men in its place. And usually it's the idea of great men to set up that kind of system.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, and we get we kind of get that opening, a description of the bathysphere going down and seeing you see the fish, you see the Rapture, you see the Ryan Enterprises, you see all the stuff, and it's a conversation between Ryan and Greavy and Wales and McDonough, basically just saying, "Oh, you did it." Like McDonough says, it's one of the wonders of the world, and the world's never going to know about it. And Ryan responds, "Oh, then time they will. All who survive the destruction of the upper world, they will know Rapture. One day it will be the capital city of all civilization." Like that's where his mind is.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a nation builder at this point.
Yeah,
he's creating a new country, for all intents and purposes.
Right.
A country for the great.
A country for great men.
Yeah. He's really worked up. He gets himself worked up in the dream, and then someone points out kind of a reality of the situation. Who the fuck is going to live here? Like, yeah, it's like all this talk about great people where like there's like a dozen of us. Who else is going to live here?
Yeah. It's mostly staff down there right now.
Right. He's like, yeah, we got the workers, but tell me we're not hanging out with the workers.
Yeah.
So he pulls up a form, an invitation.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing. But you're really, I mean, just in the first few
tired
sentences,
of taxes.
Yeah. Tired of taxes. Tired of bullying governments, business regulations, unions, people expecting a handout from you. Want a new start? Do you have a skill and ambition to be a pioneer? If you're receiving this notice, you've already been considered and selected to fill out an application for a life in Rapture. So they're sending these out to people that they assume are worthy, who have a skill that can help out with the whole situation.
Right.
They want to make sure if our vetting team has done its job, you are not a trade unionist. You are a believer in free enterprise. And then I love the end of the invitation. It says, "We ask that you show this letter to no one, whatever your decision." What fucking world do they live in?
The believers in the Great Chain, which is Orionism for the invisible hand, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
it's unreal how naive this whole thing is. I guess though, if you think that going off into the middle of the
North Atlantic,
the Atlantic to will solve your problems and everything like that, then maybe there is something deeply naive about you.
So they're talking about, and this is like the immediate problem right away, right?
Yeah.
Is they talk about this guy, Prentice Mill, who is building an express rail around Rapture.
Yes.
And
which has real quick very Fountainhead vibes, which is Fountainhead's all about the railroad.
Yeah. And Ryan responds to, he complains he needs more workers. Of course, they all do. And Ryan says, the Express is its own business. Let him get busy and hire more workers himself. Those who are finished working on the outer shell can start on the rail. And it's like, it becomes immediately apparent that like Ryan is like, well, I built Rapture, but further building of Rapture is up to other great men, like
right.
Prentice Mill has to deal with that. I'm not going to oversee that. That's his own business.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, no quality concerns, quality checking.
It's kind of, you're living under the water, my friend. It is kind of your business, It is. Yeah, it right. So right off the bat, immediately you can see the cracks forming here. And by the way, I got it wrong. It's Atlas Shrugged again when they talk about the railway. And at the very end, they mention there was another little Easter egg that I thought was really interesting for any Atlas Shrugged people.
Yeah.
It was they refer to Ryanium, which is presumably a metal named, discovered and named for Ryan.
Yes.
Which is a direct reference to, in Atlas Shrugged, Reardon, Hank Reardon, who's the main character, who's the great man in Atlas Shrugged, and he's discovered a metal that he very creatively names Reardon metal. And it's lighter. It's like a lighter steel alloy,
right.
And it's what has got him his greatness, and so it's. This guy knew what he was talking about. He cribbed his notes. He knew what he was doing.
Right. Yep. And that ends part one.
That ends part one. That is the first age.
First stage of Rapture
so
is the construction. So we've established we got Frank Fontaine, who is more or less represents the rot that is on its way already. And we have Ryan, we have his hangers on and believers and Bill McDonough and Sullivan. it's going to be an interesting ride going into part 2.
Very, very much so.
Which I imagine, I don't know where this book ends. I imagine it basically goes up to right before the game starts.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, I don't remember the details specifically at the end, but I'm assuming that Bill is our protagonist from the game.
Sure.
Not the least of which because he starts out with a pipe wrench, and that's just too good of a parallel to ignore. So what are you thinking so far?
I like
Kev?
it.
What do you like?
I like it. Yeah. I dig
it's
it.
Good. It's good. There's a lot of work that went into getting the tone right for this, for using the characters well.
Yep.
It's really super good so far.
I love it.
I'm feeling fantastic about this. So we're in good shape.
We've said that before about other books in terms of like, and it's not like those books turned out bad. I mean, we really adored Far Cry, but I think the opening of Far Cry Absolution was so much better than the rest of Far Cry Absolution.
Yes.
So I think that's something obviously we'll keep an eye out for, is the tonal consistency throughout the book and the strength of the storytelling and all that stuff. But so far, part 1 is off to a really good start.
I couldn't agree more. And it's a great start.
It really understands the source material, not only BioShock, but the Ayn Rand bullshit.
Yes. And if in case anyone hasn't already guessed, this series is going to be our most politically charged series.
Oh boy.
But honestly, we've dropped enough bombs and hints here and there throughout the show that if you're here and you're shocked that we are taking the stance that we are taking, you have not been paying attention.
No.
And trans lives matter, and bye-bye.
Take care. Trans lives matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck Ayn Rand. Bye. Good night.
Fuck Ayn Rand.